Welcome again, everybody, to another installment of basic Photoshop tutorials. This week we're doing the Windows Vista blur effect that you see a lot in menus in Vista. It also you see a lot in websites, and it does add a lot of depth and characteristics to print websites and anything of that nature, multimedia in general. So first thing we're going to do is open up our photo. Make sure it is a focused photo and not blurred. Obviously, we are doing a blur effect. We do not want to do this on a blurred photo. So once you have your photo open, choose the rounded rectangle tool, and that is in your toolbar here on the left side, and simply draw a shape anywhere on your photo that you are going to work with. So I've drawn mine right in the dead center so we can all see it. I've left a little bit underneath of the photo just to keep the rounded parts at the top sort of distinct and on their own, as if you would see a menu in a website. So now that we have our photo or our shape drawn here, we're just going to change the color of that. So that's simply done by double clicking on the black palette or whatever it is color you have up, and you'll notice a color palette comes up, and we're just going to change it to a white. Make sure it is white. That adds to the blur effect. Next thing we're going to do is duplicate the background, but we don't want to duplicate the whole thing. We only want to duplicate the blur part that will be underneath this white shape. So simply left click and hold Control on your shape 1, and just hold Control and left click, and that brings up the marquee around that shape. With the background selected, make sure you do have that selected, go to Edit and Copy. So we're going to copy that background, but it's just the piece that's the marquee is highlighted under it. So anything around that marquee will not be copied. And then we're going to create a new layer, and that's done by either going to Layer, New, and Layer, or you can just come down to the bottom of your layer box area here and just right or left click on the Create New Layer. And then we're going to paste in. Make sure your marquee is still up there. We're just going to go ahead and edit and paste in that piece that we've copied. So this is what we've copied now, and you'll see it is the exact same shape as your shape 1. That's because we use the marquee tool once we've highlighted it. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and blur this. So what we want to make sure we have selected is the layer 1 or the duplicated background, whatever it is you want to call it. Go to, actually let's Control click again and select that marquee. Let's select the marquee around layer 1. So Control and left click on layer 1, and that selects our marquee again, and we're just going to go to Filter and Blur, Gaussian Blur. Okay, and then make sure it's about between 8 and 10. I'm going to keep it around 9 at this one. So there we go, 8.9 is what I have. Okay, so you'll notice that there's a blur effect happening. I'm going to press Control and D, that gets rid of my marquee. So you'll notice there's a blur effect happening here. Because we did have the marquee on, it doesn't bleed the edges. Okay, so we want to keep that white layer on top, and what we're going to do with this white layer is we're going to select it first of all and take the opacity down to about 25. Okay, so there we have sort of a blur effect with a little bit of the white on top. You can change this color to whatever you like depending on what your website or photo design will be. In this case, we're doing the Vista effect, so we're going to keep it white. So with that layer selected, you want to duplicate this shape 1 layer, the white layer. So you're going to do that by either going to Layer and Duplicate Layer, or just press Control and J, which I have just done. And you'll notice that it sort of, once it's duplicated, it keeps the opacity and fill at the exact same levels. What we're going to do is bring the opacity up to 100% again, but this time we're going to bring the fill down to 0. So what that does is it takes away all the color in our shape, but if we do add any blending options, it does keep those at max opacity. So that's exactly what we're going to do is we're going to add a blending option. So right click on the color palette in shape 1 copy, and then we'll go to blending options. So now that we have our blending options window open, we're going to go ahead and add a drop shadow to this shape, and just do that by click on drop shadow, and you want to have the distance at about 2, and the size, actually bring the distance all the way to 0 and bring the size up to about I have mine as a 10, just so there's a little bit of a black border around your shape 1 layer, and then hit OK. So now that we have that, there's pretty much our blur effect. I find that maybe this might be a little too white, so I'm going to bring the opacity down on shape 1 down to about maybe about 17. I have it at 17. That kind of adds a little bit of more realism to it. And now what we're going to do is we're going to add our text. So with the text selected out of your toolbar, choose the, now I don't really know how to say this, Sagui, UI. It's the Vista style of writing. So we're going to go ahead and select that. Make sure it's on regular, and it depends on whatever you want to use size-wise. I have mine on 65. And just click anywhere inside that shape, and type in whatever it is you would like. So of course this will be a menu for a website, so I'm going to have the home button selected. Okay, so now we have our shape blur and our writing there. Now we're going to add some depth and technique to this writing. So what we're going to do is, with our text option or layer selected, right click and go to blending options again and add a gradient overlay. Gradient overlay is going to make sure you have your scale at 100, your angle at 90, and its style is linear. Okay, make sure opacity is 100 as well. Just click on the color palette in the gradient overlay options, and in this, of course, the gradient editor comes up, and then click once on the black palette, which is at the bottom left, and then click again once on the color, which shows up. Okay, and then we're going to change that to a light gray color, not too dark, not too light, but just to add some depth to our lettering. So I have it at C9, C9, C9. And of course you can put it at whatever you want. Okay, now we're going to add a drop shadow to that home text. So just simply click on the drop shadow, and we're going to keep it pretty close to the original specs here. I'm going to bring it down to about a 2, and we're going to leave the size at 5. So distance is at 2, spread is at 0, and size is at 5. Your opacity you can change if you'd like. I'm going to bring it down just a tad to 70. Okay, and then hit OK. And there you go, you're done. So there's your Vista style, whatever it is you want to call it, menu style, or menu style or print style. Now you can do anything you want with this. Again, you can use this for print. If you're having like a party or something, you can say, join us. It doesn't have to be all about web design or anything like that. You could just simply do join us for fun or something like that, and it's up to you. So again, there's tons of options you can use, and just go wild and test out some new things and enjoy it. Okay, so that's it for this week. Again, rate and subscribe and comment, of course, and I'll post a new video next week. So I hope to see you guys again. Thanks for joining.